Hello and welcome to the window tutorial drawing for our city corner. We are going to work on 3 different buildings today, and our first step is going to be drawing a sign. So we need to have a sign somewhere on one of these buildings. Typically you see something like this in a closer building, so choose either any of your 3 closest buildings here. Now I'm going to choose my closest one and I'm just going to put it up at the top here. Now we are going to draw our lines nice and vertical, so I've measured and made sure that I'm overlapping with my ruler rather than trying to make this line just from the side, because that's really hard to guess. Now I'm going to overlap again on my leading edge and make sure that I am drawing this vertical line nice and straight. And I'm actually going to make this edge just a little bit closer to the edge of the building than I did for this first one. Now I am going to go in and connect the lines that I've made vertically to the vanishing point that's on the same side as it. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to connect these lines on the top and the bottom, and there is a sign that I've made. Now, maybe on this same building, let's try that again, and maybe we'll give it a door. So something that we can do to find the center of a building, let's go ahead and connect the corners of this front-facing side here. We're gonna lightly draw a little mark right in the center, and then another little mark right in the center. Now, this gives us an X, and right in the middle of that X is the center of this space, because when it's getting smaller and smaller on one side of it, that means that the middle is not necessarily where you might guess it to be. So that's why that little tip is quite helpful. Now we're going to draw a short line down at the bottom, and that is going to be the center of our doors. So let's go ahead and decide how wide we want these doors to be, and we're going to draw in the next vertical lines here, making the next side just a little bit skinnier than our first side, and we're going to connect that on the top using that vanishing point on that same side. And there's some doors. You could give them a little doorknob if you want, or design it how you like. We are going to go through and make this a little bit more detailed later on. Now, our next step, step number 2 that we must have, are box windows. So let's write the word box here for number 2. So we do need to have windows on all of these spaces. I might go through and maybe I'll use that same technique over here to kind of try to guess where the center is going to be. I'm going to try to lay out 3 windows here. So I'm going to make a slight line connecting those corners. Let's connect those corners on the other side, and I'll just make a very light line as well. Now up at the top here, I'm going to come in and make my little mark, just a very small dot, for where the center is on that side of the building. Now, because I know that's the center, maybe I'll make 4 box windows up at the top here. So I'm going to just use my ruler and kind of a guesstimate. So I could maybe say, okay, that's the middle between these 2, that's the middle between these 2, and I'm going to give myself some very small little vertical lines, and I'm going to leave a little gap between them. So kind of where my dots are, I'm leaving a little gap here. And we're going to have 4 windows up at the top. Now, we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's go ahead and draw the tops, but we're not going to draw the top in the gap section between the windows. So now I've got those top lines, and then we'll draw in the bottom lines. All right, now we are going to have some time after this tutorial to go through and add in more details using these 3 methods that we're focused on today. But we are going to come in for our next type, and we are going to do a stripe window. That's type number 3, so we need to use this on a different building. Now, I am going to choose just one of maybe my taller ones, because that's somewhere where you would see that type of window. So we're gonna just choose a measurement. I'm going to continue with that 1 square width as my measurement here, and I'm going along the leading edge and just drawing that in right on that middle line on the corner. Now let's go ahead and connect these lines. And if we're on the right side of the building, we connect to the right vanishing point. Now we are just going to go through and fill in these straight lines. Make sure that you are going through the center of your vanishing point rather than accidentally like scooching and not realizing that you're not lined up with it anymore. Now we're gonna do this not only on one side of our building, but we're gonna do it on the other side as well so you can see that it's wrapping around the building. Now, as we finish this up, you have some options as far as how you might fill it in. You could choose to have it go through like alternating filling. So we could have like one filled and then leave another, and then another filled and then leave another. So it's kind of alternating stripes. You could choose to go through and just like add shading to this and pretend that there's like a sun side. So maybe this is where our little sun is, and that would mean that this side would be darker. So you have some choices here as you are decorating your town, but let's go ahead and add the lines on the left side going to our left vanishing point. Make sure that you are lined up with that vanishing point throughout this whole process, going right through the middle of it so that you don't accidentally scooch down and not realize that you're off. Now, we also want to make sure that these lines that we're drawing on the left side are a continuation of what you drew on the right. So make sure that those lines are lining up the best that you can. Now, at this point, we got to the last mark that we've got, right? So what we can do now is just line up on those sides where we don't have the ability to continue that measurement, and we can just kind of guess as we fill in the bottom. You could go through and make those measurements where the leading edge is on top of the other building, but it doesn't have to be like quite that precise since this is just a practice here. Now we're just gonna fill in those lines. Now, at this point in the video, you're going to have some time to go through and add some more of the box windows, the stripe windows, signs, doors, anything that you would like to, but try to make sure that you leave 3 more buildings to ensure that you've got enough room for the 3 more practices that we're going to continue. So you can go through and maybe you would fill in the signs, or maybe you would add some like more box windows, or maybe you would decide that you want box windows here too. So anything on these 3 buildings that we've already started is wonderful. So have some time to go through, fill in some of your details. You could even add like a little person waving inside of one. So it's very much up to you what you'd like to add at this point. Thanks for watching.